Hello, and welcome to another episode of Candid Catholic Convos. For most of us, when we think pro-life, we think womb to tomb, conception to natural death, right? But for a lot of people, the term pro-life just means helping pregnant mothers choose life, which isn't wrong, but it's also not the whole picture. It doesn't go after the core issue of what pro-life efforts are all about. It's about the value of life, that every human person has profound dignity and deserves to be treated as such. The problem is nowadays, as a society, we've forgotten our worth. We've distanced ourselves from God and in doing so become more accepting of death, with many believing that abortion is actually a compassionate response to crisis pregnancies. We've forgotten our worth so much that many of us neglect our own physical health. We mistreat our bodies that we've been gifted with any number of addictions. Pro-life is womb to tomb. That means all that stuff in the middle is important too. So what if I told you that the Diocese is actually partnering with a unique organization that not only raises funds and awareness for crisis pregnancy centers, but also embraces a holistic pro-life approach using a combination of cycling and evangelization? Today, I'm excited to welcome back Zack Haney, our Director of Youth and Young Adult Ministries, and Marianne Weltmer, our Director of Life and Dignity, to chat about our Biking for Babies event on April 26th, a one-of-a-kind opportunity to combine advocacy and action. Marianne and Zack, welcome back to Candid Catholic Convos. It's been a while since we've hung out, so thanks for joining me today.
Oh, happy to be here. And the first time, both of us, I mean, we've both been on several times, but this is the first time we're tag teaming, so we're pretty excited.
Yeah,
thanks for having us, Rachel.
Anytime. I'm excited. So for those who maybe haven't seen or listened, because this was the first time you guys are on video with me, tell me a little bit about yourselves and your roles within the diocese.
Ladies first, after you.
Oh, thanks. Sure. So I'm Marianne Weltmer, and I work in the Secretariat for Catholic Life and Evangelization, and my role is Director for Life and Dignity. So my office supports really any ministry that supports life from conception to natural death. So some of those ministries would include, of course, Respect Life, Disabilities Ministry, Healthcare Ministry, anything that's related to the environment, and really just any life-sustaining and life-supporting ministry out there.
Well put. Well said. My name is Zack Haney. I am a friend of the podcast. I've been on probably, 3-4 times now? Several times. I'm coming for your record, Sister Geraldine. I'm coming. I'm going to be on here. I think I'm going to be on here again not too long from now. But anyway, I also work in the Secretariat for Catholic Life and Evangelization with Marianne. I am the Director for Youth and Young Adult Ministry. So essentially, when it comes to middle school, all the way up through young adults to in their 30s, the mission of the Office of Youth and Young Adult Ministry is just to teach them how to live out their Catholic life, how to find their calling, how to find their place in the church, and how to live that out. So we have catechesis where they learn about God, but now this ministry is about, how do I know God, and how do I form relationship with Him? How do I form relationship with other people within the church? How do I learn how to go out and share my faith? So it's really a community-driven thing, like our youth and young adult ministries. So how do we find community with God and community with others? But that also includes our other organizations for the youth, like scouting and sports. So that's kind of sort of where I fall into this equation here, this athletic element, but also the idea that we're partnering with some of our young adult and campus ministries in order to put on this event. So active lifestyle. It's an important thing, not just for the youth, but it's they put me in charge of it.
That's awesome. And so speaking of an active lifestyle, let's talk a little bit about Biking for Babies, because from what I understand, this is a somewhat new initiative, at least for our diocese. I understand that the organization has been around for a little bit. But talk to me about this event itself. What is Biking for Babies? How did it start? And can you kind of explain its mission, how the diocese came to be involved in your offices specifically? How does all the puzzle pieces fit together?
Oh, yeah. So you want to go ahead and talk about a little bit about their origins first?
Yeah, sure. So Biking for Babies actually began back in 2009. There were 2 college students out at the University of Illinois that were reflecting on Pope John Paul II's message at World Youth Day in Denver. Back in 1993. And they felt inspired when they read his words, "Woe to you if you do not succeed in defending life." And they really felt called to do something tangible, some action item to support the cause of life. So they decided to, over their spring break week, do a ride across Illinois, stopping at multiple states, about a 600-mile bike ride for the 2 of them. And in the process, they were raising money for their local pregnancy resource center as well as their pro-life group on campus. So they had a wonderful experience over the course of a week. They did this huge bike ride, raised over $14,000 for their first ride. And after the ride, they were able to visit that local pregnancy resource center, and they happened to meet the woman that they directly supported through that bike ride, also meet the baby that was saved through their ride and the support that ride was able to give the pregnancy center. And ultimately, they were also able to meet the adoptive parents who were able to receive that gift of life from all the support, awareness, and money that was donated to that center. So a really beautiful experience, and they felt really motivated and called to share that experience with as many other people as possible. So that's really where Biking for Babies began.
And so kind of that whole idea began to grow to the point that we have now, which is their mission, or what they do. The primary thing that they do is that they have what are called national routes. So I believe it's in the summer that they have, if everyone remembers like the Eucharistic pilgrimage, remember when we had we were processed the Eucharist across the country and everyone was meeting in Indianapolis. We had all these different routes that were heading towards the central location. Well, that's the way these bike routes work. They have several routes that run across the country, mostly on our side, mostly on the eastern side of the country, but they converge on central sites. I believe Washington is one of them. I think Columbus might be another one. I might be misquoting those right now. But the point is that they converge on these sites, and they're traveling hundreds of miles. But the purpose of these rides, of these riders, usually I think it's a team of about 12 bike riders that, they are not just athletes. They are missionaries. They're trained to be missionaries on this ride. So one of the things that they're doing is they're raising money for these pregnancy resource centers. So through their rides, they're getting sponsorships, they're getting donations in order to go to these pregnancy resource centers to help these mothers and their children, and the fathers too, the whole family that go. But then also at the same time, they're called to be evangelists on this route. So they're evangelizing Christ as well as the pro-life cause to all of those they encounter. That's why they have to go through this training. All of them know how to ride a bike. They don't need to be told how to ride the bike usually if you sign up, but they are trained into like how do you encounter people like one-on-one. If someone comes up to me like Biking for Babies, what's that? It's like I'm being able to tell them about the pro-life mission and telling them Christ's message, essentially going out and preaching to the nations just as the Lord told us, except they're doing it on a bike.
Right. Yeah. I believe the national locations are Iowa and Philadelphia.
Okay. So thank you. Thank you.
Where they converge.
Whichever one of us is right. You all can fact check that. I apologize, Biking for Babies, people who are listening. And we're getting... The point being the same, is that we're converging all in the same place and like evangelizing along the way, as well as raising these funds. But do you want to tell them about how we got involved? Oh, well, so the difference between that and this is the other things that they do, or they do local rides. So like day events, essentially, where you have like a single ride within a single day where anybody can sign up. And so that's what we're hosting. And that is for the primary purpose of raising those funds for our local pregnancy resource centers. So you want to tell them how this all came about there, Marianne?
Yeah, sure. So we have some gentlemen in our diocese by the name of Greg Ernst and Phil Mobley, and both of them participated in the local Ride for Life in Chester County in the Archdiocese of Philadelphia. And they had been doing it for several years, and they thought it was a wonderful opportunity to work in the pro-life realm, support the local resource centers, and also do what they felt that they were called to do in supporting and promoting life. So after a couple years of doing that, they thought, you know what, why don't we try to bring this to the Diocese of Harrisburg right here, the local resource centers that we have available to us. So with Bishop Senior's blessing, we have been able to get a ride started here within our diocese in Shippensburg is where it starts on the Cumberland Valley Rail Trail. So we're really excited for this opportunity and thank Greg and Phil very much for their support in bringing this group to us.
As well as for Father Ben and Our Lady of the Visitation and the CCM at Shippensburg for playing hosts and for being very enthusiastic about being our hosts and wanting to host this type of event. So we thank all you too. Shout out.
Yes, very much. Very grateful to Father Ben Dunkelberger. He'll be celebrating Mass at 7:30 the morning of the bike ride on April 26th, prior to all the kind of awareness in the actual bike ride. So
that's really cool. I really like that you mentioned it being like something tangible that somebody continued, like, pun intended, you're really putting pedal to the metal kind of thing when you're doing something like this, because you're physically getting involved. I think that's really neat. But I heard you mention 600 miles and my heart just went, oh my gosh. So talk to me a little bit about what the day is going to look like. I'm assuming it's not 600 miles from Shippensburg to wherever we're going. So talk to me a little bit about what people can expect, like if they show up. And again, you mentioned that this is going to help benefit our local pregnancy resource center. So do you know, like, who specifically this is going to be going to, or like what can we expect from the day?
First of all, I'll say if you can bike 600 miles in the day, you should be on the Tour de France and not at our event. But yeah, Marianne, feel free to talk to us a little bit about the schedule here. So what can we expect? What do we what's the day look like?
Sure. So it's an early start. Mass will begin at 7:30 at Our Lady of the Visitation, right there on Shippensburg, at the edge of Shippensburg's campus, really in the town of Shippensburg. So following Mass, then there'll be some remarks by Biking for Babies, as well as the 2 pregnancy resource centers that will benefit from this event.
Oh, nice.
So
yeah.
It's exciting. They were just both announced. The first will be Carlisle Area Family Life Center, and the second one is Pregnancy Ministries Incorporated. So Pregnancy Ministries, they have offices in Chambersburg, Shippensburg, and Waynesboro, and Carlisle Area Family Life is in downtown Carlisle. So we're excited to benefit both of those local resource centers. So, yeah.
And so once we get all of that in, it's time for the rubber to hit the road. We want to keep going with the biking
let's
puns.
keep it going.
So there's options. So we'll be on the Cumberland Valley Rail Trail, and there will be options for a 2 mile, so like a 1 mile down, 1 mile back, for a 10 mile for 5 down, 5 back, and then a 25 mile will be our longest, so 12 and a half down, 12 and a half back. I think that the longest one takes us a little bit past Newville, I think, and then we come back. And so even the 2 mile ones, you have the option to walk. Like, so we have this option. If people don't bike, people don't have a bike, you can still come, you can still support. I'm hoping you can walk a mile and back once you're there. For those people, we're not expecting you to walk 10 miles or maybe 25 miles, but so those options are there. So if you're not a biker, you can still come and you can still support. You can still get a little bit of your steps and your workout in.
And I think even people with strollers or wagons, like families, are welcome too, because it's my understanding that the rail trail is about 10 feet in width. So there's plenty of space for people to walk beside and past one another. Yeah.
And so we'll all go out in our different groups. We'll go down, we'll come back, and we'll use all of that money people pay for us for doing physical exertion, and then we will help those that are in need. And who knows, we might turn some heads along the way. I mean, the trail isn't necessarily completely closed for our event since it's a public space, so we might even encounter those on the trail that we, just like those bikers across the country, might be able to evangelize and maybe spread the word about like what it is that we're doing and the pro-life message. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
I think that's the day. That's what you can look forward to.
Yeah, and if you're not interested to bike ride or walk, of course you can donate to a rider, to a walker, or you can donate in general to the event.
Yeah.
That's really cool. It's really something for everybody, like whether or not, like you mentioned, maybe you can't ride a bike, or maybe you don't have access to a bike, but you have access to your feet, or you have access to, a donate button. You can participate in all kinds of different ways, and I think that that's really exciting. We talked a little bit earlier about how this kind of like expands the pro-life conversation because, we're taking care of our health while we're doing this, right? Like it's physical activity. talk to me a little bit about how this really highlights the church's commitment, not just to supporting the unborn and mothers in need, but we talk about pro-life being from womb to tomb. And I think a lot of people forget that in the to part, there's a whole life that's lived. So how does this highlight the fact that, we're not just talking about babies and the dying, we're talking about the living that happens in between there.
Mm-hmm.
You mind if I go for it? Yes, this is the part that really gets me going, or in a good way. This idea of health. We are a very health conscious culture at the moment. I mean, the thing is we always want to make sure that we're taking care of our body, that we put the right things in. But oftentimes, even in our culture, that doesn't necessarily take on a pro-life stint in the fact of what are the reasons why we are taking care of our body? Why are we treating, being so cautious of what's going in and out of our body, or how much we're exercising, or tracking all of our fitness, or any of that stuff? A lot of it becomes, whether it's about appearance, or whether it's about that longevity, for the sake of being able to enjoy life, or what have you. But what we're really called to do, and the reason why we are called to take care of our bodies, because we are called to take care of our bodies 100%, but because we are called to stewardship. God gave us the gift of our physical body, and we're called to take care of that. We're called to take care of it out of respect for the giver, but also for who we are able to give our bodies to. So for example, you would want the parent to take good care of themselves so that they can have a long life, so that they can be present for their children and for their spouse, so that they can provide in that way. So that is what we are called to do with our bodies, is this building up for the sake of using our body for someone else, which might be a little controversial. I mean, it kind of connects into this idea of, the my body, my choice type of thing. We all say that, my body, my choice, but what our actual call to do is my body for you. In the Mass, Jesus, and at the Last Supper, which we remember, or that we celebrate at the Mass, Jesus said, "This is my body given for you." And that's our ultimate call, is this is my body given for you. And in one way or another, we are called to use our physical bodies for someone else. And in that sense, we need to make sure that they're healthy, that they're capable, that they're at the peak that they can be, so that it can be such a great gift for others. So it's getting behind, and this is completely behind that, this idea of these bikers. They're using their bodies for another. They're using their bodies to raise awareness as well as funds. They're putting themselves on the line in order to raise money for and to help these mothers and these children and these fathers and these parents and everybody that is helped in this sense. And even in the idea of evangelization, to go out and to help those who do not know Christ. So this idea of maximizing and taming our bodies, kind of like St. Paul says, and I don't have the scripture quote right in front of me, so it's not going to come out perfect. I obviously didn't prepare it like Marianne, but the idea that do you not know that all athletes, they're running, they're all competing for that crown. They're all, and only one can win, but I beat and subdue my body. But not for a perishable crown, but for an imperishable one, so that we are all. So this is kind of that idea, is that having that control, having that discipline over our bodies, not so that we can use it for our own purposes, but so that we can use it for the sake of other purposes.
Mm-hmm. And that intentionality when the bike riders are riding, that they're praying for all the things that happen at a pregnancy resource center, all the wonderful things, the ultrasounds that often help persuade a woman making a decision to choose life, or to help pray for the monetary donations that can help support families, whatever material needs that they might, be seeking, or education as well, because that's another part of what the resource centers offers too, or parenting classes and budgeting classes, and a lot of basic skills that sometimes are needed in crisis pregnancy situations. So it's that intentionality part that's really beautiful, I think, for the riders in particular.
And absolutely. And anybody also who knows what it's like to be an athlete and to work hard at something, or especially anybody who's been a bike rider, is that it is not a pleasurable experience for your body, when you actually do it to the greatest extent. I mean, it can be pleasurable in the act of succeeding in it, but the actual process, it hurts. This idea of athletics teaches us how to suffer for something greater. which is one of the things that, I mean, there's lots of really good lessons to come from athletics, but that's one of the best things is the penitence that comes from it. So they can offer this suffering that they are experiencing through 600 miles worth of biking. That in itself is a prayer. They're offering up that suffering in order to pray for those who are, considering an abortion or who need the help of a pregnancy resource center. So there's that act of penitence through that self-denial, through that willingness to undergo suffering for the sake of another. So I think that is also very beautiful.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I think that's something so important to highlight because you're right, like the act of working out, like it's good for you, but you hate it while you're doing it. Like I know sit-ups are going to feel great later, but right now I really don't want to do them, right? But when you turn it into a prayer, it becomes so much more powerful. Like all the days that I don't want to work out, I get up and I don't do it for me, I do it for somebody else. Like a friend of mine who has cancer, I'll get up and I'll work out because he's sitting and enduring chemo. He can't get up and do this. So I do it and I use it as a prayer. And I think that is so important to remember because, Zach, you mentioned the my body, my choice. I feel like as a society, we've become, I hate to say it this way, but I feel like we've become selfish in a way. And we think about what's good for us, but not necessarily how we can benefit others. And in doing so, we've forgotten that we're worth something, that, we as a whole, or just, you and the pregnancy mothers and everybody is valuable in the eyes of God, and we should be valuable to us. So talk to me a little bit about how this aligns with the teachings of the Catholic Church, especially when it comes to the dignity of life, and how does this inspire others to engage more deeply in a pro-life mission? Because I don't think people think of, I mean, this was new to me, but I wouldn't think of biking and babies going together and actually serving this larger purpose. So talk to me a little bit about how this really expands the dignity of life in the pro-life conversation.
Yeah, sure. I think, as we're very familiar, the Church has always taught from conception to natural death is what we believe that dignity and sanctity exists. And we're called constantly to support it, protect it, do what we can to raise awareness in all areas of life. I think these visible events that, like Biking for Babies or the marches that we do, really help draw awareness, not just to the teachings of the Catholic Church, but to the greater Christian community that all values respect for human life. And one of the things that's really beautiful about the Respect Life, pro-life realm is that so many different faiths come together and they recognize the value and dignity of human life, and it's almost like it's an ecumenical effort in a sense, but it also just reinforces where the Catholic Church stands, because when you're with other denominations of the Christian faith, that's one thing that they always say, like, well, you Catholics, like there is no denying you've always been so steadfast in your teachings on life. And we appreciate that so much because we know that you have that intentionality when it comes to anything pro-life that we're trying to do.
I would also say one of the ways Biking for Babies might be inspiring others is that idea is it's more personal. So at least I know when it comes to the national rides, we're talking about 12 missionaries who are going and they're having personal encounters with people. So we have these grand marches and walks and things like that, and they do have their place and they're great to demonstrate that, to see the number of people. It's like, wow, there's a vast number of people that are for life. There are people that stand together for life. But sometimes that personal encounter can get lost in that this whole thing isn't about necessarily the grand laws or these sweeping statements. It's about the person. It's about that mom that walks into that pregnancy resource, that baby that she hopefully will have, those individual people. And through these bike rides, even through evangelization, even it's the encountering that one person who says, well, what's Biking for Babies? Or why is it you're riding here? What do you do? What is this team thing that you're a part of? It's that personal encounter of witnessing to the pro-life movement rather than the large and grand demonstrations, which I think those more personal encounters are becoming even more important in light of the Dobbs decision, where things are going more local. Things are becoming more about the states. It's about converting the individual hearts in the to be pro-life, to embrace the pro-life cause more than like trying to get the laws to bend everyone's will into the pro-life cause. So I think Biking for Babies really emphasizes that, as well as shows people that there is no gift or talent that can't be used for the furtherment of God's kingdom, or even for the pro-life cause. Of like, who would have thought 20 plus years ago that'd be like, yeah, biking and pro-life, yeah, that's like cycling and pro-life, those totally obviously fit together, other than like the idea it's very alliterative and nice that it's Biking for Babies. We love our alliteration in Catholicism. But yeah, so that like, get creative. Like there's what are you good at? Like what's something you're passionate about? And there is a way that you can use that in order to help people. So I think that's also something that Biking for Babies really, really does. Because I know when I first saw it, I was like, what is that? I was like, I didn't expect this to be a thing. So yeah, wonderful.
No, that's super important. And I remember you guys saying that in the beginning this was started by two gentlemen who were college students, and it's, in this event we're starting on the outskirts of Shippensburg with their campus ministry program. Talk to me about the role that young people and families play in not just this event, but in the pro-life movement in general. Why is their involvement so critical in shaping the future of the pro-life movement?
Well, I mean, I would say that young people in particular, people who are in their 20s and 30s, who are of marrying and childbearing age, they're the ones that are really on the battle lines. Like they're the ones on the front line. I mean, everyone else, they can advocate, they can support, but when it comes to like having families, to welcoming life in, like those are the people that are putting the rubber to the road again. Like that's the people who are deciding whether or not to really embrace life with their actions. And I think at events like these, having young families there, or particularly those with really young children, that's speaking with action. They're not just saying pro-life; they're showing pro-life. That those young kids, that they're a gift, and that they are something wonderful and beautiful and good. And it's really showing it's the physical manifestation of the love God calls us to, that selfless love between a man and a woman. And I think so many are closed off to that idea, or they feel guilty bringing young kids into a world that's so troubled, which, spoiler alert, the world's always been troubled, but the world's always been dangerous. That's not necessarily the point. Is like in the times like of greatest struggle, like we need hope. And one of the things that provides so much hope is our children, because of their role as that manifestation of love. They're like, children are proof that love exists in society. Not like that love is present. Yes, I would say that children are physical proof or visual proof that love exists in a society. Maybe not. I don't want to say a blanket statement at any time there's a child, there's like love in a household, because that's unfortunately not true. But I think it shows us God's love, I think, is the presence of a child. The Lord asks us to be like children. And so we need, I have young nieces. Every time I'm in the presence of them, I remind myself of what I look like in the eyes of God. And so I think children, they're so pivotal to our society. But anyway, yeah, like young families need to be, and they need to see that they are supported. I think it's not even just them showing everyone else while they're at the event. Yeah. It's them being at the event and seeing how many people support them, because it really does take a village. And it's not easy to be for life these days. I mean, you say, hey, I have a family of 7 kids. People give you like the weird side eye of like 7 kids. That seems irresponsible. And so to have a society that supports them in their decisions in that, I think is really important. And for other young people to see that support. And so it's just like, yeah, that's what I would say.
It's the actual getting out and seeing other families and other young people supporting the cause of life, because you don't often see that when you're looking on social media or in the culture. That's not the message that you're seeing. So to have events like this where you can come and actually see your peers, see people that are supporting that same cause, I think there's a lot of power in that.
Yeah, even just going to the marches and seeing that vast number of people there is like, oh my goodness, there's this many people who are that supportive of the cause. And I just think that's, you're right, just being able to see it. Because, like,
yeah.
I always talk when I'm talking about social media and people are like, oh, I didn't get very many likes on that post. Like, I only had 20 people like my post. I'm like, yeah, but if you were in a room with 20 people, that's a lot of people, especially if it's a room small like this. Yeah. So when you get to see it physically, it has so much more of an impact. And Zach, I love what you said about how, because I heard that a lot when I was pregnant with my third son. I heard people like, why would you want to bring a child into the world? And I'm like, well, because maybe that child is going to solve all the world's problems. I don't know. Maybe that child will cure cancer, but I don't know. But there's a reason that my child is coming into this world. And I sometimes when there was this podcast I was listening to, and he was talking about the current climate, and about being worried about everything that's going on. So anytime he's worried, he opens this book. It was like the 100 worst things that have ever happened in the world. I think that's the title of it. But it talks about like horrible, like the Holocaust or like earthquakes or explosions or things like that. And we made it through all of those. So we're going to make it through whatever's happening right now too. Mm-hmm. And again, maybe that child is, even just having that child there, like gives you that courage to kind of keep going. Because if you can't do it for you, turn around and do it for somebody else.
I would also add well, first of all, praise God for you and for your family. But I would also add, from a spiritual standpoint, bringing a world that is difficult is best for us spiritually. So like a difficult world gets us to heaven. When we have to rely on God and when we have to kind of like suffer as he did, that gets us to heaven, which is the ultimate goal. When we bring, when times are really easy and times are really comfortable, that's not necessarily great for us spiritually. So we may think that things are physically dangerous or uncomfortable to it's like, I don't want to bring kids into this, but these are the type of times that make saints though. So, and maybe your children are the saints that the world needs at this time. So
they're definitely something. God willing, they will be saints. If not, they'll be lawyers or something, because my oldest loves to argue. If he doesn't become a lawyer, he is missing his calling. But yes, I 100% agree with that, Zach, that like when things are easy, it's easy to forget that God is there, because you're like, oh, everything's great, la 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 la. But it's when the times are hard that we turn and we say, okay, I need your help. I'm sorry, I kind of forgot that you were there, but I need help. And that's very important to remember, especially now, because the pro-life cause is there's a real urgency behind it now. Like you said, with the Dobbs decision and everything coming down to the states, it's super important to, if this is something that you believe in, to really put the pedal to the metal and the rubber to the road and actually show it. So how does Biking for Babies serve as this kind of powerful example that Catholic action does make a difference?
Yeah, well, there's I think a lot that we could say, but absolutely the personal encounter that Zach mentioned a little bit ago, I think is key. I think there's a lot of things that in our faith that we can point to. And maybe at a glance, you can't necessarily see the impact or see how it's playing out. But there's a lot of good that's being done, and there's a lot of work that's being done that we don't see when we offer things up for that intention, for the pro-life intention. Looking across the country, states are all over the place in terms of their abortion laws and their the direction that they're trying to take those abortion laws. Some states allow abortion right up until birth, where the baby could survive fine in a sense, and others, it's much more restricted. But even having groups like Biking for Babies, support for Pregnancy Resource Center activities or fundraisers, intentional prayer, adoration, masses for life, all of these things that we do, we don't always see that benefit. Not directly. We might not know who we might not know ever this side of heaven who we're benefiting. But I think that there's a lot of good that's happening, but it is up to us to continue that good and to continue that determination and to not let down, because there's a lot of work still to be done.
And I would say, the pro-life cause has come very much to a head right now, where things are happening. But it's something that's been urgent since its inception. Like this idea, since the beginning of time, the idea of the lives are always on the line with pro-life. Regardless of where all the decisions lie, where the laws are, lives are always at stake. Lives are always on the line. Minutes, seconds, one encounter, all of these things can make a difference in the fight for a child's life, as well as for, the well-being of, the mother, the parents, too. So I would say that Biking for Babies is a powerful example because it's a going out. We as Catholics, we are called to go out. We're not just called to stay, and we're not just called to donate from our phone or to wait till people come to us. We're supposed to go out. Like the Lord said, to go out and make disciples of all nations. Mass is from the word misa, which means to go. At the end of Mass, we're sent out, go in peace, like we're supposed to go. And the thing you can't really say about a biker is that they don't go. They go, they're out there, they're doing what needs to be done in whatever way that they know how. Taking what you got and going out to the people and not waiting for them to come to you or waiting for the laws to be the ones that change or to just sit there and support passively. It's visible. People can see it. People know things are being done. And so I think in all of those ways, Biking for Babies is doing a fantastic job of advocating for the cause. Are they breaking the bank when it comes to fundraising? Probably not in the largest grand scheme of things. But they're bringing it to the people. They're bringing the cause to the people, and they're saving moms and babies one life at a time, one life at a time. That's what we're all about here. We're about the individual. We're about the individual and about the whole, but we're about those individual lives that we're saving. Mm-hmm. And there are so many that are possible thanks to just this small project of two college students that's turned into this massive, unexpected pro-life success.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super important that, we are called, like you said, we're called to go, but we have to understand, I think it's so ingrained to have this instant gratification, but we need to remember, especially with stuff like this, that it's the day you plant the seed is not the day that you eat the fruit. So we need to
like
just,
that phrase,
right?
Yeah.
I just came up with that. No, I think that's powerful, and we do have an impact, and one life is still worth saving. It might be one life, but that life has dignity and is valued, and it is absolutely worth saving. So I think that for somebody who's kind of on the fence, that's just go do it. There's really nothing stopping you. So if we really want to get involved, tell me how we can get involved. The event is April 26th, correct? And starting at super early in the morning.
I wouldn't say super, but it is in the morning. Marianne, would you like to highlight how everybody at home can get involved?
Sure. We have information on our website, on the diocesan website, but the more direct route to go would be to visit bikingforbabies.com. They also have an events page a link on their main page to the local ride that's in Shippensburg, and then they also have information on there about the national rides and just ways to volunteer, support, sign up, and be a part of this special day.
Yeah, if you just click on Get Involved at the top of the Biking for Babies page, I think there's a drop-down menu that says Events, and you should be able to scroll down and find ours amongst the other ones. So if one 25-mile bike ride ain't enough for you, then, there are other ones. If you're willing to travel, then there's plenty of other opportunities. Yeah,
and you mentioned you can walk, you can bring the kids, you can probably bring the dog if you wanted to, or if you're physically incapable of actually doing the walk or the ride, that you can always donate money to the cause and spread the word. And I think that's really cool. There's something for everybody.
Yes.
There is. And the resource centers really appreciate those donations because much of their funding is by donations of generous givers. So anything that, even any small amount is a great help to them.
Yes, and absolutely, whether you bike or you walk or neither, if you just want to, be there to hear things, you just want to sit, please come and join us, and help us celebrate life. We'd love to have all of y'all come see us. We'd love to see you there.
We'll be there.
Awesome. Well, Zack, Marianne, thank you so much for opening our eyes to this awesome new avenue of pro-life advocacy and this event that's coming to Diocese. And I am really excited for it. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you for having us,
Thanks,
Rachel.
Rachel. Appreciate it.